The BRSCC BMW Compact Cup is brought to you by Nankang Tyres and Gas Shocks.
Hello and welcome to Brands Hatch for the 2018 season opener of the Nankang Tyres BMW Compact Cup. We've got 33 competitors out on track this weekend, so it should get interesting. However, the cars themselves are based on the E36 318 compact model. 1.8 engine, rear wheel drive, gearbox in the middle and very lightweight, which leaves a car with perfect poise, balance and great handling. Now, before we get into the action, let's introduce you to some of the drivers that are competing this year. Firstly, the reigning champion, Stephen Daly. Cracking years racing last year. Can we expect more this year?
Yeah, I mean, we are hoping to repeat the result from last year. Obviously, we've not got James Gornall, unfortunately, but he has sadly missed this weekend in particular. I really enjoyed the battles we had, so I mean, it is a real shame that he's not here this weekend. I would have loved to have another battle with him. But it is what it is. We've got new drivers coming up, Owen HUNTER and Ian Jones there, right in the mix. They're only 2 times off me a lap, so I mean, it's very good effort from them this year.
Yeah, there's 33 drivers on track, so the competition's everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, the grid's the biggest it's ever been. As I say, there is brand new drivers coming in, so I mean, you have to wait and see. There is going to be other drivers faster at other tracks, and I'm looking forward to see what other competition we've got this year.
And what we can expect to see from you this weekend?
I'm hoping for 2 race wins. It'd be absolutely excellent, but obviously you can't have it always. You can't win every race, so we'll just have to play it by ear and see how it goes.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
2 drivers likely to be Stephen's closest rivals this year are Ian Jones and Owen HUNTER, who were both regularly a thorn in his side last season. As too was Ben Huntley, who came on particularly strong towards the back end of the year.
Qualifying went pretty well. I mean, struggled on the front end, put new tyres on, and setup wasn't quite what we expected it to be. I mean, the car was pushing through, so made a few changes, ready for race 1, so hopefully you can get the start and push forwards and work our way up the field.
Well, let's find out how he gets on as the field line up on the grid ahead of the first round of the 2018 Nankang Tyres BMW Compact Cup. Pole position has been taken by the reigning champion Stephen Daly. Here's how the rest of them filter in behind. It's Owen HUNTER alongside him on row 1, ahead of Ian Jones and very impressive debutant Liam McGill. David May is much improved onto the 3rd row alongside Matt Parks. Then it's Chris Hack and Tom Griffiths, with Paul Hinson and Gordon McMillan rounding out the top 10. Ben Huntley will be a little disappointed with 11th on the grid, whilst further back Keith Towers is one to watch for on the 7th row, as well as David Chapman, former Mazda MX-5 race winner. Aaron Morgan is back for another season. He lines up on the 10th row of the grid, and Martin Gadsby and David Ashforth are both also veterans of the series. Once more, it's a fully subscribed grid of cars. 33 cars lining up on the grid for our opening race weekend here at Brands Hatch, and on the tight and technical Brands Hatch Indy circuit, things are likely to get rather busy. So we wait for the lights to go out. We have several onboards for you this weekend, including their onboard with Owen HUNTER at the front of the grid, Keith Towers from the midfield. Lots of action to bring you over the course of the year. This is when excitement starts to hit fever pitch as the lights are about to go on, ready for our first race of the year. Out they go, we are away and racing, and look at the scrum in the middle of the pack. Aaron Morgan there making some good progress, and several cars behind as well. David Ashforth getting stuck in as we head up towards turn 1, Paddock Hill Bend. Careful on cold tyres, everybody. Are they all going to get through safely? Looks as though they will, by and large, with Stephen Daly leading the pack up towards the right-hander at Druids at the top of the hill. Ian Jones is 2nd, Hunter is there in 3rd place, and Liam McGill looks to still be 4th, and that is David May. Side by side with Gordon McMillan, there's a bit of contact down in towards the left-hander of Graham Hill Bend. Gordon McMillan's had a really good start though, up into 6th place on the grid from 6th place halfway around like 1 from 10th on the grid. On board with Keith Towers now as he makes his way down towards 30s for the first time, and at the head of the field it is, in a way, the 3 drivers we expected to be at the head of the field, who have made their way to the front straight away. They turn their way through the right-hand and back out onto the main straight. And at the end of the first lap in this first of two 15-minute races of the weekend, the field are very closely bunched together indeed. Here's some battling going on further back. That's Dave Chapman there going around the outside of Ben Huntley. That's a good move if you can make that one stick. Huntley's late on the brakes though, wheel to wheel through the turn. Ben a little bit sideways. Chapman gives him plenty of room, and they live to fight another day. But it's been a little bit of a lacklustre weekend so far for Ben. He'll be hoping to try and improve his performance as the day goes on. Right, on board with Owen Hunter, who will be a bit disappointed as well to have lost that second place to Ian Jones, but he's already starting to think about doing something about it. Further back, out of Graham Hill Bend goes Tom Griffiths there. That's the black car with the pink wheels, same livery as he had on the car in 2017, and he'll be looking for more of those top 10 results that he was able to produce towards the second half of the season. Through the right-hander we go then, back down the pit straight. It's Matt Parks, by the way, who's in fourth place. Not sure where Liam McGill's got to. He's dropped down slightly after that really impressive qualifying performance. They make their way across the line again. There's Keith Towers in behind Mark Skeets. That's Mark Skeets in the yellow car, Towers behind him. These are two drivers who I expect to see making more regular top 10 appearances this year as well, after really finding some performance in 2017. Plunge downhill out of Paddock Hill Bend. The car's teetering on the edge of control there through what is one of the most daunting corners in British motorsport. These two continuing to do battle, and they've also been joined by the orange car of Chris Hacklock. So these three tied together by a very short piece of string, as we've got a car into the gravel trap there at Paddock Hill Bend. I think that was Phil Sharp. So it is going to be a very brief safety car period, with just the 2 laps run under the yellow flag conditions. But of course, only 15-minute races these, so we are now sort of approaching half race distance effectively. Stephen Daly, though, has already gone, so the Ninja Race Engines car leaps away from the rest of the field, very ninja-like, because no one else really seemed to notice what he was doing then. They've all hung back a little bit too far, and look at the lead that he's got. That's arguably a bigger lead now than he had before the safety car, so good job from Daly. In fact, half the field were asleep there, weren't they? Look, because we've got Matthew Parks in fourth all on his own, then a big gap back to everybody else trying to be fifth, so Daly's done a good job of that. Out of Paddock Hill Bend he goes, dropping down the hill. Jones and Hunter set off in pursuit, but they too will be doing battle for second place. Now, in a way, they would like to work together here, you'd think, so as not to hold each other up and to give themselves the best possible opportunity to go after Stephen Daly. But at the same time, Owen Hunter will be very toey in third place to try and find a way through and lead that charge after the race leader. Before he gets too far away, he's having a little look at the inside down the Cooper straight. That was never likely to work. He's trying to distract Ian Jones, who has had to rebuild this car pretty extensively over the winter. Lovely move on the inside there from Hunter, though, and he does not hang around. He's straight through into second place. Doesn't run wide on the exit either to allow the cutback from Ian Jones on the exit, and so Owen Hunter is into second place. But look, even that couple of corners of side-by-side running has given Daly the break, and it's going to be difficult now for either of those two to go after him and close the gap. We'll wait and see whether they can do, though, or whether this battle ends up running right to the flag. I suspect possibly the latter of those two options is what's going to happen, but we'll wait and see. Owen Hunter can't afford to put a foot wrong, because he is starting to really feel the pressure now from Ian Jones. Out onto the pitch straight, across the start-finish line again. There's Alan Caulfield, who's just got a lap down. And then this is actually a battle between Matt Parks and David May that's developing nicely as well. Then it's the Hinson and McGill duo. But yeah, some nice battles developing all the way through the top 10 actually, just not for the race lead, because Steve Daly has checked out. He's about 2 and a bit seconds now, nearly 2.5 seconds ahead of the chasing pack. He also has the fastest lap, but he set back on lap 3. No one's been able to beat that yet. So impressive stuff here so far from the reigning champion. Onboard with Owen Hunter in second place then. Ian Jones right in his wheel tracks as they make their way up towards the left-hander at Surtees. Running out of time now though is Ian. Started to mention earlier on, he's given this car a complete rebuild over the winter. That's because he very nearly wrote it off at Alton Park at the second meeting of last year. He had a huge shunt into the tyre wall at almost unabated speed. He was perfectly okay, but the car, you sensed, was never quite right after that throughout the season. We didn't really see the performances from Ian that we'd seen in previous years in the Compact Cup, so it's good to see him running really competitively again. And with his regular playmate from last year, Owen HUNTER, they are dicing over second place. He's having a little look to the inside there into Druids. Don't think he was quite close enough to make it stick. They're certainly not close enough to Stephen Daly to trouble the race leader. A bit wide there again for HUNTER as he came out of Druids. Ian Jones, the car looking resplendent now, it has to be said. Start of the new season. Frustratedly unable to find a way through for the time being. Stephen Daly, though, making his way up towards Surtees and the end of the lap. And it has been a dominant performance from the reigning champion, Stephen Daly. Yes, he would have liked James Gornall to be here to really give him a run for his money, but like I said earlier on, I think he is going to have some stiff opposition as the season goes on. But Stephen has always gone well here at Brands Hatch, and he continues the winning trend with victory in round one of the 2018 Nankang Tyres BMW Compact Cup. Second goes the way of Owen HUNTER, and third for Ian Jones. Here is confirmation of the result. Matt Parks holds off David May for fourth. Paul Hinson and Liam McGill are sixth and seventh, ahead of Gordon McMillan, Tom Griffiths and Mark Skeets, who hangs on to a top 10. Then it's Keith Towers, Ben Huntley, Dave Chapman 13th on his debut, ahead of Chris Hack and Wayne Flint. Then Colin Edmond, Craig Jameson, Mikey Doble, Aaron Morgan and Mike Doble round out the top 20. David Ashforth, Matt Flowers, Martin Gadsby, Brendan Murphy and Simon Welch are next up, ahead of Nick Edmond, James Stanbury, Phil Adcock, Alan Caulfield and Craig Arkle. The last few are lapped down, so too were Andrew Woodbine and Colin Way. Phil Sharp, our only retirement after that spin into the gravel at Paddock Hill Bend.
Stephen, the reigning champ, pole position, fastest lap and a win in the first race in 2018. Congratulations.
Can't get much better than that. Hats off to Owen and Ian in that particular race. This is a track I'm very comfortable with, and it's a track I can get to my limit absolutely perfectly. So for them to be so close behind me, I'm delighted. At least when we go to the tracks where I'm not so comfortable, they are going to be there because I know they're fast around there, and we're going to have a very good year.
Owen HUNTER, what a move going into clearways. I thought you were going to take off.
Yeah, so did I must admit. I started the move at Druids. I noticed Ian got a bit of a bad run, and I just sort of picked my moment. And going through Surtees, he had a bit of a slide, so I just picked my move, and luckily it paid off.
Ian Jones, first race in 2018 on a podium. You've got to be feeling good.
Yes, after a very late build, through to operations on my ankle, etc. It was a bit of a turn up, fingers crossed, and hope the car works. And it's working quite well. Outdriven in the first race. I'd guess the second race is probably going to be the same, if I'm honest, because they have got a little bit more pace than me.
Hello and welcome back to Brands Hatch, where preparations are well underway for round 2 of the BMW Compact Cup. Anthony's down in the assembly area speaking to Phil Adcock, whose weekend can get off to the best of starts.
Phil, the car's looking a bit second-hand. Talk us through it.
Well, I'd like to say it's a heroic dive into paddock, an epic duel, but unfortunately the first lap of qualifying, tyres were cold, just overcooked it, very slow motion, very slow roll, and yeah, next thing I'm upside down, hanging.
Other than no glass in the car, it doesn't look too badly damaged.
These cars are great. I mean, and I've got Andy Ward to support me. Absolutely fantastic. But great. At the back though, the wind unfortunately catches it. So it's like a sailboat now.
Yeah.
So I'm 10 miles an hour slower than yesterday.
Well, we'll see how Phil gets on over the course of this, the second race of the weekend. The drivers line up on the grid for this one in the same way in which they finished race number 1. So reigning champion Steve Daly is back on pole position alongside Owen HUNTER. He will look to continue his dice with Ian Jones, who starts on row 2 with Matt Parks. David May is impressing on row 3 with Paul Hinson, ahead of Liam McGill and Gordon McMillan. Tom Griffiths and Mark Skeets round out the top 10, ahead of Keith Towers and Ben Huntley looking to improve. David Chapman is 13th alongside Chris Hack on the 7th row. Then it's Wayne Flint and Colin Edmond, ahead of Craig Jameson and Mikey Doble. Then it's Aaron Morgan, Mike Doble, David Ashforth and Matt Flowers, Martin Gadsby and Brendan Murphy making up the 12th row of the grid. Then Simon Welch, Nick Edmond, James Stanbury, Phil Adcock Alan Caulfield and Craig Arkell are towards the tail end of this mammoth field that's rounded out by Andrew Woodbine, Colin Way, and retirement for race 1, Colin Sharp. So another 15 minutes of action about to get underway. The red lights are on, they go out. Now, away we go. Good start made by Stephen Daly from the front row of the grid. Not a great start made by a few drivers a little bit further back. We'll see how they fare on the run up towards Paddock Hill Bend, on board with David Chapman as he tries to dive up the inside of Chris Hack. But race 1 winner Steve Daly has held on to the race lead. Owen Hunter is second, Jones there in third. Fourth place looks to be Matt Park, so they've got away in grid order towards the sharp end. Paul Hinson there going around the outside of David May, and Mark Skeets and Gordon McMillan are side by side just in front of our onboard camera, Keith Towers. That though in the black and yellow car is Paul Hinson, who gets elbowed out wide at Druids, and he will lose ground as a result. Out of Graham Hill Bend we go for the first time, down the Cooper Straight, which is actually anything but straight. There's a big kink in it. But back there we see the yellow car with no windscreen or windows, in fact, on any four sides of the car. That's Phil Adcock recovering from his qualifying shunt. Up at the front of the field, it looks as though Steve Daly is starting to pull a little bit of a gap. Back on board with Keith Towers. Oh, and off into the tyre wall go Mark Skeets and Gordon McMillan. Didn't quite catch what happened there. The two of them made contact though, and both speared off to the left into the tyre wall. Skeets' car is embedded in the tyre wall. Gordon McMillan's car perhaps just beached in the gravel trap. But either way, both drivers out of the race immediately. Well, that is not the ideal start that we wanted. A couple of our top 10 runners in trouble early on, but that opens up the door perhaps for a few drivers who've been struggling this weekend to make their move towards the front. There goes Paul Hinson trying to make a move towards the front, but that will be put on stop because the red flag is out, and that means the race is being neutralised. So the drivers will have to bring their cars around onto the grid, ready for a full race restart. Well, that is a shame then that we had that shunt with Mark Skeets and Gordon McMillan, two of our expected front runners this season, having really shown improved pace last year, both in the pit lane and both into retirement. We are ready for a restart though. Original grid positions stand, so it's Daly again on the front row of the grid with Owen Hunter, and away we go, and Ben Huntley goes nowhere. Oh, Ben Huntley's slightly miserable the weekend, has now become very miserable indeed with a poor start. Dave Chapman wasn't that rapid away either, so there's going to be a few quick drivers to watch for, trying to fight back after slightly sluggish starts. At the front of the field, Daly leads from Jones. Ian Jones through into second place, so he's made the most of that restart to leapfrog ahead of Owen Hunter. Paul Hinson and Matt Park side by side, as that is unfortunately Liam McGill getting elbowed out wide, possibly after contact with David May. We feel plunge down now towards Graham Hill Bend. Oh, sparks flying from underneath Owen Hunter's car. That was spectacular as the inside of the wheels just catches on the outer edge of the curb. Owen Hunter will not be best pleased to have lost out to Ian Jones here, but he looks up the inside in towards Clearways, and exactly as he did in race 1, I think he's going to make this move stick. He did exactly the same thing to Jones in the first race, and although the move isn't yet complete, you would imagine that Hunter with the inside line towards Paddock Hill Bend is more than likely going to go through into second place. This is all absolute music to the ears of Steve Daly, the race leader, who can look in his mirrors and see the cars behind him all too busy squabbling with each other to be able to close in on him. Look, you can see Daly getting away from Hunter now into second, Jones back down to third, and they've both been caught by Paul Hinson, who's made a much better fist of the second attempt at starting this race than he did the first time. It wasn't a bad start from Hinson the first time around. Bear in mind he started 6th, so he's been able to leapfrog past 2 cars on this restart. Back out of Graham Hill Bend, along the Cooper Straight they go again. It's Matt Parks there in 5th. David May continuing this real upswing in performance since the end of last season. He had a couple of decent results towards the end of 2017, did David May. He looks like he's really now bringing that through into 2018 and converting that potentially into a couple of really, really positive results to start the season. He was 5th in race 1. He's just outside the top 2 at the moment in race 2, but there's time yet for him to regain that ground. On board with Keith Towers there as he comes across the line. Further back, that's Wayne Flint doing battle, heading up towards the first corner, which they will turn into momentarily. The leader's already there, and they are just starting to string out a little bit at the very sharp end of the field. There goes Wayne Flint. Chris Hack there, the orange and black car, a couple of cars further back, also one to watch. He was starting to trouble the top 10 towards the end of last season, and did so again this morning, before falling down to 14th by the end. He was a little bit quicker than that result would suggest. Back on board with David Chapman now, heading up towards the end of another lap. There's more back markers in front of us. Which way do we go? Outside, inside, middle? We're going to cut to the inside there, or but there's going to be very little room indeed. Oh no, contact with Andrew Woodbine, and Andrew Woodbine is spun across the nose of the former MX5 race winner. And Woodbine comes off worst in a way, in that he's pointing the wrong way, but Dave Chapman was fighting for positions inside the top half of the field there, and he has lost several positions as a result of that contact. There's nowhere really, I guess, that Woodbine could go, but he could have possibly left a bit more room at the inside. Either way, David Chapman won't be best pleased with that. Matt Parks won't be best pleased with the fact that he still can't find a way back past Paul Hinson. David May is now ahead of the pair of them, isn't he? So we've had a bit of changing there. David May has got himself past both Parks and Paul Hinson into 4th place. Some great stuff this from David May. I don't think there's anything he can do about the podium places, but nonetheless, 4th place will become his best ever finish in the championship. Back on board with Dave Chapman, as if he didn't have enough to worry about. There's now a bit of moisture appearing on the windscreen, back markers ducking and diving this way and that. Well, Dave Chapman's debut in the Compact Cup has certainly been entertaining. It's given us lots to talk about. It would be great to see him back again later on in the season if possible, because there's no doubt that when he's on the pace, Dave Chapman has the potential to be up there fighting for race victories in pretty much any category he chooses to race in. It's just about experience. He's had very little testing prior to this weekend. He's not far behind Ben Huntley, who was a regular front runner last season, so it shows the potential performance there is there for Dave. He just dives to the outside of the back marker up towards Druids, which doesn't exactly jump out of his way. That's Colin Edmund, and in fact I think that's because that's actually for position. Colin Edmund is on the lead lap, so I stand corrected. Edmund has no need whatsoever to get out of the way here of Chapman. Chapman now does get up the inside, coming out of Graham Hill Bend and down the Cooper Straight, and I think he'll make that move stick, as just in front of him looked like Ben Huntley had gained a position as well. More spots of moisture there on the camera lens at Paddock Hill Bend. Stephen Daly will be well used to that though, all of his experience racing up north of the border, and he's now just over half a lap away from the perfect start to the new season. A race win in race 1 with a fastest lap. He set the fastest lap in this race as well earlier on at 57.8, which was about 3/10 slower than race 1, which shows the conditions haven't been quite as favourable. Nonetheless, Stephen Daly has been in a class of his own so far in this weekend. Here come Ian Jones and Owen Hunter. They're side by side, and Jones is up the inside in towards Surtees. Owen Hunter gets hung out to dry over the grass, gathers it all together. Can he hold on to the position though? Up through clearways they go. Jones on the dirty side of the road can't keep his foot in it, and so despite a last gasp effort, Owen Hunter will come home second. Stephen Daly though comes home a double race victor, maximum points taken by the Scot from the opening rounds here at Brands Hatch. Owen Hunter comes home second with Ian Jones in third. David May is fourth, Matt Parks is fifth ahead of Paul Hinson. Liam McGill gets 2 solid top 10 results on his debut ahead of Keith Towers, Wayne Flint and Chris Hack. Mikey Doble is 11th ahead of Ben Huntley 12th. Craig Jameson and Dave Chapman are 13th and 14th, with Mike Doble in 15th place. We had the majority of the majority of the starters get to the finish of race 1. In race 2 we lost a few. James Stanbury was a late retirement. Tom Griffiths, Gordon McMillan and Mark Skeets, they were all out before the restart, whilst Phil Sharp was excluded for a technical infringement. So what does that mean for the championship standings? Well, unsurprisingly, Stephen Daly is the points leader by 8 points over Hunter in second and Jones in third. Parks is fourth ahead of a very, very impressive David May in fifth.
I can't be much happier with that. I would just like to say on behalf of my sponsors, thank you very much. Edinburgh Paving and Landscaping, Production Glass Fibres, Casey Motorsport, everyone that's involved in my racing is literally, that's the reason I'm here, so I can't be more thankful from it. If it wasn't for that, then I wouldn't be racing at all. So I'm really happy with that. As for the wins, I'm ecstatic about that, but Brands Hatch is my favourite, as I've said to everyone this weekend. And when it comes to the flatter tracks, I'm scared that Ian Jones and Owen Hunter are going to come straight up to the back of me, even take the lead off me. I mean, that's the way it is. These guys are carrying serious pace this year, and that's excellent for the series.
Owen Hunter, second place again, but what a fight you had with Ian.
Yeah, I mean, I managed to pull off the same move. I know Ian's a bit old, so he forgets things, and I was able to pull off the same move. But yeah, superb fight as ever with Ian. He always sticks to the back of you, and I managed to shake him sometimes, but it didn't really amount to anything because he just was straight back on me. But yeah, it's brilliant.
Brilliant weekend, couldn't ask for any more. I hope the rest of the year is going to be close racing like today. That's what it's all about.
You nearly got him back going up clearways.
Nearly, but not quite. Next time, hopefully.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
Well, that wraps things up from here at Brands Hatch. Stephen Daly leaves the opening rounds of the championship a double race victor. However, the rest of the pack will be snapping at his heels next time out at Snetterton. Make sure you join us so as not to miss any of the action.